Okay, so for the first time, we're going to be really setting up our own still lives. Something I always like to do is to think of a station to put it at, and I like to gather more supplies than what we're going to be using. So for this still life, you're going to need 3 objects that you feel like represent you. You're going to need some fabric. I also always like to start with a stand, something that really puts the drawing itself up on a bit of a pedestal, something to kind of elevate it. Your table does still work, but sometimes just putting a little bit of like a book underneath, something just to give it a little extra oomph, really. So I found this old shoebox type thing, kind of just in my closet using storage. I'll put it back afterwards. I grabbed a polka dot skirt that I love and I actually usually teach in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by kind of draping my fabric. I'm going to, do more than just flattening it out on the surface. I really like to get some of those folds in there. Now you don't need to be choosing patterned fabric. That would be a little intense. We'll do that at a later point in the class, but you do need fabric as your base, okay? I find a t-shirt, a favorite t-shirt, sometimes a dress, a sheet, a towel, right? We've got a lot of options. And you can see I'm just kind of directing where I want the folds to be because you're really in control of setting up your imagery. It's essentially like setting up a stage or a scene. And then I try to find objects that have a little bit of different height, okay? So if you're drawing 2 objects that are exactly the same height, you're not really getting any tiers in your drawing, right? Everything kind of plateaus at one point. So you want to think of it in terms of like 1, 2, 3. I'm going to like use my water bottle as a marker, right? The difference between a tall object and a small object. You want to kind of work the full range of your drawing board. So I like finding 3 objects, a short height, a medium height, and a tall. And I know like that seems like a lot, like you're really curating your objects as well. Sorry, I'm gonna keep touching my camera. I picked a bunch of weird stuff. I've got this wacky baby shark in a jar that I get to draw. I'm gonna pan up my camera so you can see it. Little baby shark, but that's, kind of a different height than the snail that's next to it. So I also went ahead, I grabbed some of my tarot cards, and you can see that now I'm hitting 3 points of height. I've got short, medium, and tall, and I'm going to be able to utilize my whole thing. Now, because I'm working with cards, I can even like really set a stage here. And what I did in my images that I photographed, because you're going to want to take a picture of your setup, is I started to kind of make it look like some of my favorite cards, because I collect them because of this artist, are falling out of the box, okay? Now, it might mean that you're going to need to have some objects to kind of support but not draw, but just behind an object so that it doesn't fall over. You can put things on tilt so that the snail is kind of climbing down from the cards. You just really want to use the space to your advantage. And then when it comes time to take a picture of it, okay, you want to be able to take your picture head on from where you're drawing. You can find out what angle you prefer, where this looks the most interesting, right? If I drew it from this side, I've got a lot of this fabric negative space. Whereas if I draw from this side, I've got a lot of this kind of dynamic curving flow where it kind of comes down. All right, so you're always thinking in terms of how you're going to set up your composition. And then when you take your photo, you don't want to be taking a picture from an angle that you're not going to be drawing, like something up when you're sitting here, because you're going to mess with your perspective, okay? I'm going to actually probably end up drawing portrait meaning not looking at it in landscape, and from an angle over here, all right? And I do want to take several pictures of my setup because, leaving things out on the table for over the weekend it's harder than you would think. Things are going to move, things are going to change. You're always going to want photographs to go back to if you aren't able to keep your image set up. All right, let's get started on drawing it.